Leaving Vishram Sthan, the party, consisting of Nityanand Prabhu, Srivas, and Jiva Goswami, along with a few other devotees, proceeded to Suvarna Bihar. There, Nityanand said, "O Jiva, this is a wonderful place. Like rest of the Navadvip, it transcends material existence. Long ago, during Satya Yuga, the famous king Suvarna Sen lived here in Navadvip. For many years, he was deeply absorbed in ruling his kingdom. Although he was fast growing old, he could not take rest from his labors. His heart was filled with materialistic hankering, and he was always thinking of how to increase his wealth. One day, by some great fortune, King Suvarnasen was visited by Narad Muni. The king received him lavishly and offered opulent worship to Narada. Narada bestowed his mercy on the king by personally instructing him in the highest spiritual truths. Narada told him, "O king, you are uselessly passing your days, thinking only of riches and profits. You should know that your wealth is worthless. Divine knowledge is supreme wealth. For once consider this deeply. Neither your wife, sons, nor friends belong to you. At death, no one owns anything. When you die and your ashes are scattered in the river, you will be forced to leave behind everything you have gathered in your house. Why maintain false hopes for happiness in this temporary world? A mirage cannot quench one's thirst. If you can tell me now how I can become happy in this world without suffering any pain, I will certainly join you in your quest for wealth. But the promise of material happiness is a lie, my dear king. This mortal life is short and barely lasts 100 years. Know this to be essential. You must go beyond this world of illusion to the place where there is no pain, only happiness." Nityanand continued. Sri Narada said, "How can one reach that world where there is neither fear nor pain nor grief? It will not be possible through knowledge of renunciation alone, although by following that path one may become free from material bondage and attain oneness with Brahman. In oneness, however, there is no ecstasy. In fact, oneness is an act of spiritual suicide that defies the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One who practices knowledge and renunciation may become free from this negative world, but he gains nothing positive. Just consider this aspect of the realization attained through oneness. One who is truly wise strives neither to exploit this world nor to renounce it, but dedicates himself to the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna. This dedication to Godhead is done without attraction for material gain, but only out of devotion to Sri Krishna. Devotion or bhakti may be divided into 3 parts. The first is sambandha, or understanding the relationship between the soul and the Supreme Soul, Sri Krishna. The second is called abhidhay, or the means of realizing that relationship. And finally, there is prayojan, the ultimate goal of life. The relationship of the soul to Krishna is that of a servant to master. Devotion is the only means to achieve self-realization. Without devotion to Krishna, everything is useless. And the fruit of the tree of bhakti is divine love, Krishna Prem. That fruit is the ultimate necessity, the goal of life, and the eternal treasure of all souls. Material enjoyment and liberation are insignificant by comparison. Krishna is compared to the sun because his self-effulgent transcendental bliss, divine knowledge, and pastimes of beauty illuminate the entire spiritual world. Maya is compared to a shadow. The Jiva souls are compared to an atomic ray of the sun. They are marginal potency. If the soul falls under the spell of Maya or misconception, he becomes bound by darkness. One who turns away from Krishna contacts Maya. Entangled in the misconception of independence, he accepts responsibility for all his actions and suffers their reactions or karma. Thus, the soul, ignorant of the laws of action and reaction, is tossed by the waves of death's dark ocean. When he thinks of how to escape his pains, he tries performing the sacrificial rituals of the Vedas for good karma. Sometimes he accepts the eightfold path of yoga or attempts self-realization through knowledge of Brahman. Sometimes he tries to extricate himself with the help of reason. None of these paths, however, proves successful, as he remains unmindful of the treasure within his own soul. While continuously wandering throughout this material universe, one who is fortunate achieves the company of saints and imbibes from them faith or shraddha in Krishna consciousness. In the company of those saints or sadhu sangha, he worships and serves Lord Sri Krishna, giving up his former bad habits, known as anartha nivritti. His devotion gradually becomes firm. As he advances further, he develops a real taste for the service of the Lord, which becomes unflinching attachment, asakti, maturing in ecstatic affection or bhav, and finally divine love, prema. These are the stages in the development of pure devotion to Sri Krishna: hearing, chanting, remembering, serving, worshipping, bowing down, servitude, friendship, and self-surrender. These are the ninefold processes of bhakti, or dedication to Godhead. One who performs these in the association of devotees attains Krishna Prem, divine love. You are the most fortunate, O King, for you are a resident of Navadvip Dham. By living in the Holy Land, you have begun your good fortune, for here you can easily have the association of saints. As your faith grows in the company of saints and you sing the holy name and wonderful qualities of Sri Krishna, divine love will rise like a sun within your heart. But in Kali Yuga, even greater wealth will be available here in Navadvip. At that time, Sri Krishna, along with his associates, will descend to perform his pastimes as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He who calls on the name of Sri Chaitanya will quickly receive the mercy of Krishna and reach the divine abode of Vrindavan. One who goes on worshipping Krishna without calling on the help of Sri Chaitanya will reach Krishna only after a long time. But one who takes the name of Sri Chaitanya quickly attains Krishna. For the holy name of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is so merciful that he accepts no offenses. Nityanand Prabhu continued his narration. Having spoken thus, Narada became overwhelmed and began crying out the name of Sri Chaitanya, dancing and chanting, Gaur Hari Bol, Gaur Hari Bol, Gaur Hari Bol. Narada's mystical lute, his veena, also began to sing, O Gaur Hari, when will the blessed Kali Yuga come? With this, Narada went off, and divine love arose like a morning sun within the heart of King Suvarnasen. Crying the name of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu like a madman and begging love of Godhead from the devotees, he became free from all material desires. Later, in his sleep, the king saw Sri Gaura and Gadadhar with their eternal associates and devotees dancing in the courtyard. Surrounding the golden form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the multitudes were shouting, Hare Krishna, while dancing and embracing each other. When he awoke from his dream, the king began weeping in great anguish out of separation from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Suddenly, a divine voice spoke from the heavens, saying, "O king, when I appear on earth, you will be among my associates. Your name will be Buddhimant Khan. And at that time, you will attain service in the holy abode of Navadvip Dham, at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu." Hearing the voice from the sky, King Suvarnasen composed himself and began to worship Sri Chaitanya. When Nityananda had finished narrating this story about Narada Muni and King Suvarnasen, Srivas Thakur, who is himself the incarnation of Narada, fell unconscious. Overcome by great ecstasy and intoxicated with the nectar of Sri Chaitanya's holy name, Srila Jiva Goswami also fell on the ground, unconscious. Srila Jiva Goswami began to cry, "O Mahaprabhu, when will I ever see you here? When will I see that brilliant golden jewel Sri Chaitanya?" At that time, the Kirtan of Sri Chaitanya was revealed to him in all its splendor. All glories to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all glories to Sri Panchatattva, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Bol, Hare Krishna.